Okay, let me ask you something. If you heard your voice on social media, but you don't ever remember saying that, how would you feel? If you saw a video of yourself on social media, but you don't ever remember making that video, what would you be thinking? But even more, if you knew how easy it is to trace you and to find you by what you don't really know you're revealing in your usage of tech, how would you feel? These were some of the thoughts that were going through my head as I spoke to Paul in the second part of the series, The Ugly, the Ethical, and Good of AI. I'm curious what you're going to be thinking about it and what your thoughts are on us going forward. Enjoy this week's episode. And if you haven't yet, be sure to follow and subscribe. Here is the ethical side of AI.
Gives us a clue as to how we might use AI. So we could have AI as a partner to help us filter this information. So if you think of your inbox, how much of it is junk?
About 80%.
Okay. So there you've got the perfect use case for an AI agent. So you could call it the Curti pal, so your friend, and it would literally manage your emails and just remove all the junk. Yeah. And it would get to know you really well. It would know certain emails that come at you randomly might be of interest to you. So put those to one side, maybe for read later. So email tends to destroy our productivity because it needs that constant attention. Yeah. So that's a really good way of using technology to improve your productivity. And it can also remember. You can say, didn't Paul send me an email 3 weeks ago? Bang! It would find it for you. At the moment, we have to go into the sent or receive, and we have to go through all the threads. Yeah, and you think, well, I know he sent me. I can't find the damn thing. Yeah, but your AI agent would find it for you. Yeah, so that would be a fantastic way of improving productivity.
When you're talking about Apple Intelligence is coming out now, that's probably going to do what you're saying about going into my mailbox and clearing it out. So it's going to be productivity wise. But then how much of it is taking up my privacy and my data of picking up my information?
Yeah, so that you're straight into a massive area of ethics, which is around data privacy. So you are leaking information all the time. So is your mobile phone on?
Yes.
Yeah. So your telephone provider knows exactly where you are. They know you're in your house. To what geographical distance? I don't know. How accurate it is to the meter, I don't know. But if someone died in your building, then the police could find out who's in the building. So Curti was in the building. So you'd be a suspect to be ruled in or out. So instead of chasing someone who's not in the building, they instantly know. So without you knowing, you could be on a police watch list because that data is available. They may not need it right now, but they could certainly ask the telephone provider and find you. Yeah. Similarly, we're using this Wave Video Live piece of software. They know your usage. They know when you logged in. They know all the people that you've reached out to, so they can build up a profile around you. That data they can aggregate. They can do some prediction on it. They could sell it to other people. Yeah. Do you have a smartwatch? Anything like that?
Yep. Yeah. And it does all of that, what you're saying. It tracks you. It knows every single thing about you.
Yeah. So you're basically a data stream right now.
Well, coming to that, this is for me ethical and ugly. All right. Yesterday I was checking out on some of the stuff about deep fakes, or what is it that would be concerning around AI. And one of the things, I have to pull up this video. I was on LinkedIn, and there was this person with the Meta glasses, and they were able to take the person's face that they met and give them all the information about them. And to me, that was scary on just so many layers that I thought, should that be okay that somebody's walking around with these glasses and can take all this information? And the second thing is, I remember when I was traveling, and if I did photography, you always had to be careful that these people didn't ask to be in the photograph. But with these glasses, no, but you wouldn't even know that they're taking photos of you. So how concerned should we all be with that in this moment?
Yeah, well, there's an author, Yuval Harari. He's come out with a new book. It's called
Nexus.
Nexus, yeah. And he talks about this, yeah. So he talks about the history. I'm a futurist, right? So quite
What does that
often,
mean?
so it's having a view on the future,
Okay.
understanding where trends are heading. So things like universal basic income, are the robots going to take over? We're going to lose our jobs. So we're interested in those sorts of things.
Okay.
But quite a few futurists are actually historians. And that is what Yuval is. He's a historian. So he goes back in time.
Okay.
And he looks how things progress through time and then goes into the future. So that's a very long way of me saying he's looked at where networks are going. He's looked at how we're using data. And he's very concerned about a surveillance society.
Yeah.
So not only do you have your Google goggles or Meta goggles or Apple goggles, whatever they are, capturing all this information without your permission, but it's what the state is doing. So not only do they have these cameras everywhere, they have your telephone signals, but they can link all those things together to find out where you are, who you are meeting, yeah, what kind of content you're consuming. So in the case of the Chinese government, are you consuming content that is a threat to the regime? And so we're
Wasn't that like WeChat?
Potentially, yeah. It's doesn't matter what platform you're using, but they can get access to pretty much anything. Or the danger is they'll be able to get access to pretty much everything. So the media you consume, where you go, who you meet, all the rest of it. It's very much an Orwellian type of thing. And if you look over my shoulder, that there picture of George Orwell, yeah. So I keep that up there because that is a potential future that we are heading towards. Yeah.
So in this case, okay, now that I know that you're a futurist and that you're probably hanging out with Yuval Harari, really.
Well, he doesn't know who I am.
Not yet, Paul. What books would you recommend for somebody? Because I hear this and this does concern me. So what books besides Nexus, because I just downloaded Nexus, which are the other books that you think are very worth reading?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, that's a difficult thing. I'd probably have to follow up.
That'd be great.
With a considered list. Now there's a book written by one of Hillary Clinton's advisors. Basically, he talks about the future of work. That was a good one. Nice, easy book to read. I can't remember the title of that book, but that's a good one for thinking about where the future jobs are, because typically most people are worried about their jobs, and they're worried about the skills that they want to take on board. Yeah, so he gives some good ideas and good strategies as to to what future careers might be. And one major takeaway is mental health, right? So if you don't have your mental health, doesn't matter what jobs are available, yeah, you won't be able to live or survive in that economy. And one of the problems we have with deep fakes and all the rest of it is how it plays on our mental health, yeah, especially children, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you wrote that, because I had this written down here, is that we have already, since COVID, there's been this issue of loneliness, right? Everybody realized how they had to sit with themselves. And I always say that to my clients, you're sitting with yourself. And then you realize your true nature, as the Buddhists would say, about suffering, how you're really struggling and everything. But I find that when you start depending a lot on AI, and goes back to like writing essays, writing, just critically thinking things through, I think there's a value to that to counter the loneliness. But now you're picking up on that the mental health is going to be a big thing, because I don't see the loneliness then decreasing. I see it increasing. But having said all that, this is where I think we get into this ethical part. It shouldn't be all gloom, because there was something you said about King Canute.
Yes.
And I liked when we spoke about that. And why is that relevant with AI as we head into this next section?
Yeah, so I think the way I've heard this story told in different ways. So the way I remember it is, so King Canute, I think he was a Danish Viking that became king of England. He was all powerful, and I think the way I remember the story was he wanted to prove to his audience that even though he was all powerful, he had limits on his power. And the way he did that was to go into the sea and demonstrate to people that he couldn't stop the waves. Yeah, he could not change the tide. He couldn't push back the tide.
Yeah,
it's a way of saying, yes, I'm a king. I'm all powerful. There are certain things I cannot do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to technology, this idea of King Canute not being able to stop the waves, this idea has been brought forward in a book. I'm going to try and remember his name now.
I'm asking you for a lot of books today.
Yeah, no, Mustafi.
Oh, it's Mustafa Suleyman.
There we go, Mustafa Suleyman. Do you have the book title?
The Coming Wave.
There we go. Yes. So Mustafa Suleimani, he worked at Google DeepMind.
Yeah.
He's got a background that's really interesting in biology, AI, and technology. He's now at Microsoft, with what I understand is all the available resources that he could ever want. And he talks about, again, it's a Yuval Harari thing, go back in time, look at history.
Yeah.
So we've had a number of technological waves, so fire, farming, printed press. These are all waves. So if you think of AI is just a tiny part of a wave. Yeah. So we've got cloud computing. We've got
tiny part, like tiny part.
The tiny part, yeah, because AI needs a whole bunch of other technologies. So it needs GPUs. So so gamers, you have cards in their PCs or Xboxes so that they can do graphical representation of shoot ups and all the rest of it. Yeah. So these GPUs are incredibly good at mathematics. So they're a big part of AI. But on their own, they're no good. You need the supporting technology. You need fast processors. You need fast memory. You need fast disks. You need enormous quantities of disks. And you need networks. So again, these are all technologies that have kind of developed in their own silos, but they've popped out at the same time, and they all link together.
Okay.
And so AI sits on top of all of these technologies. And the reason AI is so powerful and so responsive, so when you go to ChatGPT, you type a question, you get the answer straight away.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going to a library, finding the book, flicking through all the pages, reading different paragraphs, and getting the answer you want? Well, using OpenAI or any other large language model, the answer comes back instantly. And that is phenomenal technology. It's fiber optics working at the speed of light. So all of these things have come together. And so what Soleimani says is you have to consider this to be a wave, just a whole bunch of things that go together. Imagine a wave, how wide, how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
AI is just one part of it. Now, go back to King Canute, step into the sea, this wave's coming towards you, try and stop that wave. You're not going to be able to do it. You might get a little bit of water and cup into your hand, so you've caught a bit of the wave, but that entire wave has gone past you. So our ability to stop AI, we might be able to batten down and come up with laws and ethics, whatever, to get a certain part of the technology just as we want, but there's a whole raft of other things that are happening. So it's on a scale difficult to imagine.
So from King Canute's story, coming wave, it's inevitable that AI is on its way, but there's more that we don't even realize that's on its way, right?
Yeah, there's the wave after, and the wave after that.
But with a wave, I always think that's inevitable.
Yes.
So all of this coming towards us is there already.
Yes.
So what are the ethical consequences? What do we need to consider now that could make us ride the wave?
Yeah. Again, if we go back to Yuval Harari, one thing he explains is if we go back to the age of the printing press, he says, well, the printing press enabled scientific discovery, the spread of ideas. It was all fantastic. Yeah. So the printing press was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, lovely stuff. What he says, though, is people don't understand history. Before that happened, we duplicated biblical pamphlets, the Bible, religious texts, and one of the consequences was burning women at the stake because we thought they were witches. And that's a phenomenon that went around the world, and it had dire consequences. So, yes, we had the printing press. Yes, we had all that amazing stuff, scientific discovery, the ability to communicate, spread ideas, and all the rest of it. But we had that period where we were burning women at the stake.
Yeah.
And he says, take those ideas and bring them forward. We have the same dilemmas. We have the ability to hoodwink people. We have the ability to find people's passwords. We have the ability to empty bank accounts. So with all this AI technology, think of it on an industrial scale, could be awful. Just the most vulnerable people being exploited. Just on one level, we're taking the money from their bank accounts. We could sow problems of distrust so that parents can no longer trust their children. Children can't trust their parents. We can do that on an individual level. We could do it on a national level. We could do it between communities. So we could end up creating race riots. Just take the immigration issues in the UK. You spread a bit of disinformation, and suddenly there are riots. People are attacking hotels. People attacking ethnic minorities in parks. Those people were born here. They might have been here 2 or 3 generations. Yet there's this confusion around who is an immigrant, who's not an immigrant, and we create these absolutely terrible problems.
So if it's inevitable, it's coming, and not to be all gloom into it, there has to be transformation into it, right? If you can't, what's the solution to all these issues? I know that there's some laws that are being put into place, but it seems like it's taking very long.
Yes.
And it's different from country to country.
Yes.
And EU is leading it mostly, from what I gather.
Yes.
But still, it's not where it needs to be. Because you know how you were talking about, I told you, like, it feels like we're running and catching up. Isn't that the problem, that as this progresses into 2 planets and 4 planets, and we're taking our time with legislations and stuff, how can it be done more effectively or social responsibly?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what's different about the current technologies is that they operate on a civilization level. Yeah. So if you had a horse and a cart, you're not even country level, you're at a farm level. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're now, because we're at a civilization level, it cuts across governments, demographies, social norms, and so we are going again. If with the futurist hat on, we are heading towards either a Star Trek economy, yeah, so where we're all working together. If you look at the Starship Enterprise, you've got all cultures. You've got Russians, Americans. You've got people coloured blue. Yeah,
Don't forget the Klingons.
Sorry.
Don't forget the Klingons.
Yeah, the Klingons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Klingons start off enemies, but later on they're allies and all the rest of it. Yeah. So we're heading towards a Star Trek economy where we're all working together, and they call it the Federation. So they're all working together. Or you're heading to a Star Wars.
And so that's the second part. I want to know what your thoughts are. What is flowing through your mind when you hear how much AI is already in our lives? It's been in our lives for 15 years. But also, what is generative AI and its impact going to have on, let's say, our different communities, on how we function within our communities globally, and also economically, socially? So many questions going through my head. But I'd like to know, what is the one thought that is running through your head about the ethics on AI and its impact on our well-being? Until the next one, stay tuned for part 3, when we do talk about the good of AI. And is there such a thing as the good of AI? Stay tuned. Have a good one.